Good morning, everyone. We are going to continue our work on 3.1, and some of the problems we will do directly build on what we did last time. Okay. And I don't have a lot of lecture to give you. It's based on what we have been doing with unit circles. We kind of do the opposite this time. So I'm going to give you a little bit of review for the sake of continuity. I'll tell you what I mean in a second. I'll tell you what we kind of did last class. All right. So let me get my unit circle that you want to have in front of you when you take your exam. And I have a few other things here I would like to bring on my screen. Let me see. I have to find it. That's all. You have to give me 1 second, okay? Well, it seems like I don't have it here, but that's okay. I'll write it down. It's not going to be the end of the world. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to write it down right here. Okay, guys. Last class, we studied kind of the inverse opposite of unit circle. We were given these values and we were asked to find the angle. And we also learned that for sine theta and tan theta, it's the first and the fourth quadrant is where you're going to look for your answers. Now, the answers are all over. Okay, they're all over. So since things repeat in trig, we look for the first and the we look for these two in the first and the fourth quadrant, and we write it like this: pi over 2 negative to pi over 2. All right. And for cosine, and you can add for cosine and cos. We didn't do cot yet. We will do it in the next section, but just to be consistent, let's write it down. For cosine and cot, it's going to be from 0 through 2 pi, which is the first quadrant and the second quadrant. Again, why do we choose these? I'll tell you right now, once again, like yesterday. So our answers repeat on unit circle, okay? So take a look. Look at the x coordinates, okay? The x coordinates match this one and this one, this one and this one. And the y coordinates also match, okay? This one and this one, this one and this one. So we don't want multiple answers. So we decided, mathematicians have decided, for sine theta and tan theta, they want to look for the answer in this quadrant and this quadrant. And this is how it's labeled. And for cosine and cotangent, they're going to look for these two quadrants. And this is how it's labeled. You start from here, go all the way to this point. In this one, you start from 0, go up or down, okay? That's why you want to say these angles in negative counterclockwise motion. And it's okay if you say it in positive angles. It doesn't hurt. Most people will give you credit. But if you're checking the answer in the back of the book, or, what would your MATLAB accept for those things, might as well be careful. So we're gonna go a step beyond what we did yesterday, just a tad bit step beyond. Okay. I'm gonna show you a shortcut, but the shortcut is not gonna help you that much because most of the questions I'll give you on the exam are the ones that where the shortcuts don't work. So, but I'll teach you. No big deal. Let me see if I can keep them here. If I need them, I'm gonna drag them up. So for instance, guys, when you see a problem like this, the rule of thumb is this sign in, let's take this and let's just do it. Let's just do it again. I'm going to get to the shortcut in a minute. Okay. So I'm going to first say Okay, I'm going to actually write the whole thing down and say this is equal to theta. Okay, of course, you can use y. I'm just going to write theta. Sorry, guys. I don't know why this box won't go. All right, negative pi over 10. I didn't do anything. I just copied the question. Now I'm going to just say this whole thing is equal to theta. That's the symbol I like. Okay, we're talking about sine, so let's focus on this one. All right, our answers should be in the first and the fourth quadrant. Okay, that should be in the background. Fine. Now, by the definition of inverse function, I can switch just like I switched in last class. Sine theta is equal to this guy. I can say that. I can make that claim. I can say that. So far, so good. I don't need the square bracket. So I'm going to write it like this. It's not a big deal if you leave it there. Oh, I mean, what's going on? I'll take care of it. Wonderful. All right. So far, so good. I didn't do anything that I didn't know yesterday. Now, if sine theta and the value of sine of negative pi over 10, now let's find out where pi over 10 is. If it's in the right quadrant, I'm almost done. Okay. So where is pi over 10? Remember, guys, pi over 10 is negative pi over 10. So now one way to do it. Generally, you want to use you don't want to use your calculator too much, but pi is 180. 180 over 10 is 18. So it's going to be here, somewhere here, right? It's negative. Maybe a small angle, isn't it? It's going to be, let me do it again. Negative 18 is going to be, if this is 30, 18 will be about 2/3 of 30, somewhere here. I'm fine with that. And nobody cares how accurate your drawing is. I'm going to say this is negative 18. Now, it is in the right quadrant. Theta, the theta I am looking for should be in this area, which is negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, or you can say the right half of the unit circle. It is in the right half of the unit circle. Look, if your sine theta is to be same value as sine of negative pi over 10. Look, negative pi over 10 is not a number on the unit circle, but you don't care. These two guys have to be the same. These two guys have to be the same. Otherwise, they're not going to be equal. So, and since it is in the right quadrant, which is either the first one or the fourth one, I can just write theta equal to negative pi over 10. Now, you could say, oh, well, he's doing too much work. I would just have canceled it. Yes, you can. You can cancel sine and sine inverse and say the answer. Okay, so that's the answer. And that's all fine and dandy. There is one catch. Sometimes this angle will not be in the right quadrant. It will be here. And then you have to make an adjustment. So if you follow the steps and do it the long way, your learning will be better. So in a nutshell, the summary is sine and sine inverse can be canceled. And this becomes your answer if and only if this answer is in the right quadrant, either this one if it's sine or 10, or this one if it's cotangent or cosine. Now let's pause it just a little bit to see if you guys have any questions. I'll of course do many more. And the tradition is we check the answers. So let's go back and at least check the answer. I sometimes write 2 + 2 is 5. So I'll be happy to take questions, okay? So I have adjusted the numbers. I think I have the right problems here. Numbers, answers should match. I think I did number 40. We got negative pi over 2, 10, so we're fine. And this one, I really don't have to check too much. These are not that difficult, but we'll check. All right, let me do a couple more. Once again, guys, I'm not going to use the shortcut. You want to use the shortcut? Be my guest. To me, it's kind of important. Important to know what you're doing. Yeah, you can get the right answer, but if you're going to be somebody who will be studying engineering or science, you will be using these things to do more complicated things. And if you don't understand, if you just get the answer, that knowledge won't be that helpful for you. So I'm going to explain you the whole thing in detail. If you know the shortcut, you want to use it, be my guest. You're an adult. Again, I'm going to pick problems from this little section. You want me to grab a couple? I'll be happy to. I'll be happy to do the ones you want me to do. Now, this one is hard. Okay, 48. I'll do it, but not right now. Let's try 10. Okay, I'm going to try 41. Let's see how that works out. Okay, again, I am going to say this whole mess is theta. Okay, again, 3 pi over 2 may not be on the unit circle. It really doesn't matter. You're going to see in a second. I'm going to say it's theta. Okay, I'm going to put this here because that's where my answer should be, right? Um, so, okay, by the definition of inverse function, I can rewrite this as I can rewrite this as this. Okay, now, of course, tan of theta is same as tan of this number, whatever this may be, 3/8. Of course, you can use your calculator 3 times 180 divided by 8. Let's look. Let's find out what that is. Okay. 3 pi is 180, and this is negative. I will try not to forget. 180 divided by 8. I'm getting 67.5, and that's good enough. Of course, negative, and let's put a negative here to be safe. 67.5. Okay, negative 67.5. I'm sorry. Is going to be in the right quadrant. So my answer, my theta, has to be in the right quadrant, and it is 67.5 is going to be a little above 60. So this is 30, this is 60. So it's going to be somewhere here, guys. Okay. Which is in the fourth quadrant, and that's good enough for sine and tan. So I could have just canceled, and I could have just said, oh, okay, that's easy. The answer is theta is negative pi over 3 pi over 8. So what do you guys think? If you cancel, it's really not that bad. I'll do one easy one, then I'm going to jump into the hard one where you have to do a little extra work. Let me try this. 4/5 of pi. Anything less than pi over 2 is easy, negative 2/3. Let me try. This is a hard one. You won't be able to cancel. Uh, well, I don't want to get into something really hard right now. Let's try 48. Okay. Let's try 48. Okay, the shortcut won't work. I won't even worry about the shortcut. I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to explain it to you, okay? All right, so I'm going to hide this. This is not relevant. Okay, just to let you know, you cannot cancel. Negative 3 pi over 4 falls here. Negative 3 pi over 4 falls about here. And that angle is out of this range. So clearly, just don't cancel and say the answer is negative. You're not going to get your points on the exam. Okay, that's not correct. But doesn't matter. We're going to do it the long way, and it's really not that difficult. So be a little patient. I'm going to do a few more like this, the hard ones, and you're going to see some of the hard ones on the exam. Probably won't give you too many easy ones. Don't know why it won't let me erase, but we'll see. Okay. Excuse me, guys. I don't know why it's doing that. All right. I've got no clue why this thing froze, but no worries. We just go to a new slide. Oh, great. I'm using the wrong writing tool. Now it's good. Okay, no worries. We got it. All right, guys. Back to this. Again, the shortcut won't work. You can't cancel sine and sine inverse. And the other reason you don't want to try the shortcut, guys, sometimes this will be sine, this will be cosine. And then again, you won't be able to cancel. So I learned something that is very, very limiting. So I'm going to say this guy, I'm going to rewrite it and say this guy's theta. Four. And this is a square bracket, not an equal sign. And I'm going to say this whole thing is theta. And there is a little minus there, which I can't forget. Now, so far so good. Now, I am going to take this and using the definition of inverse function, I can easily say sine theta equal to this mess. All right. Now the question is, I cannot say theta is negative 3 pi over 4 because it's true. You can say that, but it's in the wrong range. Okay. Negative 3 pi over 4 is this. How do I know? How do I know? All right. So let me make sure that I'm not, yeah, I'm correct. So let me check. Let me check. Okay, let me go over this. 3 times 180 divided by 4. And don't forget the negative sign. Don't forget the negative sign. Negative 3 times pi is 180 divided by 4. I'm getting 135, negative 135. And look, guys, this is exactly negative 135 because if you come this way, according to your picture, this is 225. And why am I claiming this is negative 135? Because of this. Because 360 minus 225 is negative 135. Okay, if you go this way, go to the same angle, you basically subtract the positive angle from 360. So 360 minus 225 is 135, but since you're going clockwise, you're going to stick a negative sign. So let's see if I messed up the math. I have 360 minus 225 is 135. And why do I have negative? Well, I'm going counterclockwise. So that answer, this 3 pi over 4 is not going to cut it. But it's important to know where I am. I don't need this pink design, pink arc. I am here and focus on this point. Focus on this point. Okay. Now this angle is not in the right range. But you're talking about sine, guys. In the right range, the sine value of what angle gives you the same sine value, negative square root of 2 over 2. It's going to be this one. It's going to be this one clearly. Look, this value, I don't know how well you can see. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bigger, guys, because this is important. You really want to see it. It's a little subtle. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Okay. My question is, clearly negative 3 pi over 4 is this. I come here. Okay. It's not in the right range. That angle is not going to give me the right amount of points I'm looking for. I am asking, again, sine is the y coordinate. I am looking for this value, negative square root of 2 over 2. This number and this number, they match. So their sine values will be the same. And on top of that, not only they match, this is in the right range. Now, what angle is this? Just negative 45. Don't worry too much. I'll do a few more, but I will give you a little bit of time to ask me questions. You can write negative 45 degrees, no problem. You can also say negative pi over 4. I will check my answer on this one. Negative pi over 4, which is, let me think, pi is 180, pi over 4 is 90. Yes, you can, your answer is going to be this. Now, let me go check my answer real fast, and I'll be happy to take some questions. Okay, guys? This is 48 from 3.1. Yeah, negative pi over 4. All right, so I'll do a couple of these ugly ones where the answer is not going to be in the right range, but let's pause there just a little bit. Wonderful. Let's do one or two more like this, okay? And we'll have a second session, but I think our second session today will be a little short. I'm not going to start a new chapter today. And you, by the end of today's lesson, you shouldn't have any trouble with any of the problems from 3.1. Pi over 2. This will be okay. This is in the right range. Where are, oh, let's try this one. Okay, 52. It's a little different. Okay, 52. Okay, guys. So when you have the inverse function outside, okay, bear with me a little bit. You said the whole thing is theta. Then you can apply the definition of inverse function. Now look at this one. The inverse function is inside. So you're gonna, let me do this one, okay? Actually, I'll have to do a few handful because there are some, there's a little bit of variety here. And they're not all exactly the same. We're talking about cosine, fine. I'm gonna say cosine inverse 2/3 is theta. Again, whichever function is the inverse function, you define that as theta. All right. And this will be a little bit of work, so be a little patient. Now, you don't say the whole thing is theta. Based on the definition of cosine theta, you can say cosine theta, based on the definition of inverse function, you can say cosine theta is 2/3. Okay? No. Okay, let me just, sorry, there's a minus there. Have to be a little careful. This is minus, this is negative 2/3. Now you're going to go back and you said this whole mess is theta. So now you're going to write cosine theta, right? Now it will sound a little funny or seem a little funny. Take a look, guys. If you go back here, instead of this big mess, instead of this big mess, you put in theta because that's what you call it. Look what we have. We have our answer, magic answer right here. This whole mess turns out to be cosine theta, which turns out to be negative 2/3, and you're done. And I'll check my answer real quick, okay? 52. Yeah, negative 2/3, we're good. So be careful, and you want to understand what you're doing, and you want to define the inverse function as theta, apply the definition of inverse function, basically what it means, and you'll get your answer. This wasn't too bad. It's a little new type, of course. All right, let me try a couple more. So guys, it's not a bad time to jump out of this session. Okay, it's going to kick me out like in 2 or 3 minutes. Let's jump out. I'll do a few more in the next session. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. I'm not going anywhere.